let me introduce you to someone who has dedicated his life to time travel. Ronald Mallet, this is the man. He is a theoretical physicist. He lost his father to a heart attack in 1955. And since that day, he has been dreaming of going back in time to see him again. In fact, these words belong to him verbatim. I decided that I needed to build a time machine to go back and see my dad. I know it's a very utopian goal. In the 70 years that have passed, a time machine still hasn't been produced. But that's not important. After all, we're talking about a child's world of imagination. It's a world without boundaries. However, Mallet's dream didn't just remain limited to his childhood. Ronald Mallett's father, Boyd Mallet, was a television repairman who had a passion for science and reading. He instilled this passion in his son as well. He gave him old television and radio parts to play with. Ronald Mallett's interest in science actually began during those years. After losing his father, his passion for physics and mathematics grew stronger with each passing year. What really and truly changed his life was this book. Herbert George Wells' The Time Machine book. Of course, that's not it. Mallet read the illustrated version of this. Take a look at this statement on the very first page of the book. Scientific people know very well that time is only a kind of space. We can move forward and backward in time, just as we can move forward and backward in space. This statement caught Mallet's attention very much. In fact, he says in an interview that these sentences from the book changed his life. Inspired by this amazing book, Mallet decided to build a time machine to see his dad again. He started with the television and radio parts his father had gifted him. He tried and tried, but he couldn't succeed. But there are no limits to the dreams we have as children. This story already tells us how important even the dreams that don't come true are. Because dreams constantly encourage us to move forward on the path of exploration and discovery. At the age of 12, 2 years after losing his father, Mallet came across this book featuring a picture of Albert Einstein. Did you notice a detail in the book? When Ronald Mallet saw this hourglass, he thought that he might have an interest in Einstein's concept of time. And from that day on, he conducted a lot of research on his theory of relativity, this passion of Mallet's science. In the following years, he turned it into an academic career. In 1973, at the age of 28, he earned his PhD in physics from Pennsylvania State University. He received professor in 1987. He received numerous academic awards. His research includes black holes, general relativity, astrophysics, and time travel. Inspired by Einstein, Mallet developed time theories. Time travel is perhaps one of the most frequently explored themes in science fiction movies. Mallet, by deeply studying the theories of Einstein, whom he admired and loved in his childhood, developed his own theories about the nature of time. He envisioned a world where time could flow not only forward, but also backward. But how is this possible? The backward flow of time initially conflicts with the principle of causality. For example, when we pour tea that is heating in a teapot into a cup, the tea cools down over time. If time flowed backward, the cooling tea would warm up again. Here's an example that contradicts the principle of causality, because tea cannot warm itself up again after it has cooled down. Time travel brings along other paradoxes as well. One of them is the grandfather paradox. According to this, a person travels back in time. And if he somehow prevents his own grandfather from having children, he would also prevent his own birth. A similar paradox applies to Ronald Mallet. Now let's imagine for a moment that Mallet invented a time machine and traveled to the time when his father lived, and even saved his father. But Mallet became curious about time travel because he lost his father. So if his father were alive, he might never have invented the time machine. And this is where a paradox arises. Mallet used Albert Einstein's theory of general relativity to ground his concept of time travel in scientific principles. As is known, this theory suggests that space and time are interconnected and influenced by gravity. So, the space-time fabric can be bent by massive objects. This bending could theoretically make it possible to travel back in time. We can move in 3 dimensions in space: up and down, left and right, forward and backward. To define all of this, we need a 4th dimension: time. So, can't we shape time just like we shape the other 3 dimensions? This is theoretically possible, because massive objects, planets or stars, bend the space-time fabric around them, affecting the flow of time. They create a gravitational effect by bending the space-time fabric. This bending affects the flow of time. Time flows more slowly around a black hole to an observer. Time doesn't have a fixed flow. It can be shaped by conditions. The theory of general relativity predicts that energy, and thus light, can also create a gravitational effect. So, if gravity can indeed affect time, then light itself can also influence time through gravity. At least theoretically. So, Mallet initiated a study to create time loops based on this theory. So how could this be possible? By creating an artificial black hole, Mallet created a prototype in 2019. Here, a laser ring that emits light. This prototype creates a continuously rotating light vortex. According to the theory, one could ride into this light vortex. When it is placed horizontally, it may be possible to track the image inside the machine backward or forward in time. Mallet says to imagine a tunnel that rotates around a light vortex. We can compare this situation to the Wright brothers building a wind tunnel to test their flight theories before flying their first powered airplane. This allowed the Wright brothers to understand the fundamentals of flight and later succeed in aircraft design. Mallet's goal is to create a gravitational field that will allow us to travel back in time by creating a time tunnel. The prototype has continued to work from that day to this. However, we still haven't been able to obtain even a sign that would allow us to travel through time. So it's not that easy. Although time travel to the past or future is theoretically possible, many scientists approach the situation with skepticism. For example, the famous physicist Stephen Hawking wanted to throw a party at Cambridge University on June 28, 2009. But no one showed up to the party. Guess why? Hawking sent out the invitations the day after the party. So Hawking's invitation was actually an invitation to time travelers. Only those coming from the future would be able to attend the party. Arthur Eddington argues that traveling back in time is not possible because it violates the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics tells us that entropy, which means disorder and chaos, will increase over time. Since time flowing backwards would reduce entropy and make things more orderly, we are faced with a situation that is contrary to the laws of physics. For example, like a broken egg spontaneously putting itself back together and returning to its original state. Ronald Mallet is confident that time travel will one day become a reality. However, he says that even if it is successful, we would only be able to return to the year when the prototype started working. So Mallet will never see his father in this world again. This dream may never come true, but by pursuing that childhood dream, he built an important career in the field of science. And it showed us the power of imagining the future. Maybe we'll never be able to go back to the past, but it's in our hands to build the future. The laser that Mallet is working on constantly emits light around the ring, reminding us of the importance of continuous progress and development. Mallet may not be able to go back to the past, but this laser continues to illuminate its own path with every wave of light it emits from the ring. The dream of going back to the past guided him towards scientific discoveries that would shape the future. So, we can use the past too. With the experiences we gained from there, we can shed light on the future, but without getting stuck on it. Because we can't change the past. As for the future, we still don't know it. We can only intervene in today, in the present moment. It's in our hands to shape it. So no matter what our dreams and goals are, the way to turn them into reality lies in our current steps and decisions. The only way to design the future is this: